do you think people can really change? Or do they just become do they just become better at hiding who they used to be? I feel like this is something everyone has thought about at some point, whether it's a ex, a friend, or even yourself. Like when someone says, I've changed, or, well, what does that actually mean though? Today on Talk Anything, I wanted to explore that idea, whether people really change, or if we're just all about becoming different versions of the same person. But as always, I think it's worth taking a step back and looking at where this idea actually comes from. Because the idea that a person can or can't change isn't new. It's been around for a long time. You hear it everywhere. People say things like, once a cheater, always a cheater, or people never really change. And I think a lot of that comes from experience. When someone hurts you or lets you down, it's easier to just believe it's who they've always been, rather than believe they could be different. But at the same time, we also see the opposite. People grow, they move on, they become completely different versions of themselves over time. And when that happens, we don't always know how to look at it. Like, are they actually a different person? Or are they just showing a side of themselves that was always there? I think a lot of how we answer that comes down to our own experiences. The people we've met, the things we've been through, and whether we've seen real change happen or not. Because for some people, change feels real. And for others, it almost feels impossible. And to explore this a bit further, I'm joined by Brenda Langford. Brenda is an author who shares her journey and insights around personal growth, resilience, and change. She's been through a significant transformation in her life, one that really shaped how she understands people and the challenges they go through. And I think she brings a really valuable perspective to this conversation. So, Brenda, thank you for joining me. It is a pleasure to actually speak to you.
Yeah, you
How are you
too.
today?
Yeah, good, thanks.
I think I'll start off nice and easy. When you hear the idea that people can change, what is, your first reaction to that?
Well, if you would have asked me a long time ago, I would have said no, because I always thought that people couldn't change. But now I know that that's false. People can absolutely change. It's not easy, especially if you've been, living your life a certain way for a long time. But I honestly believe that people can change. It comes down to self-awareness and self-respect, I think, most of all.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I know that due to me asking the socials, a lot of people think that you have to have that willpower motivation to change.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Has have you ever had an or have you ever experienced a moment in your life where you felt like I've really changed or grew as a person?
Absolutely. So I used to weigh over 220 kilos, and I lost a lot of weight. I lost 140 kilos to almost two-thirds of myself. And when
Wow,
I
well
got
done.
yeah, thank you. When I got down to that point, like, I really did believe, like, wow, I'm a new person. I totally changed. And, like, I felt like I morphed into a person that now has ambition and goals and aspirations, and I value myself, which I didn't do before. So,
Wow.
yeah, so
That's
that it's been a pretty big journey.
that's amazing to hear. Um, okay, so regarding, your journey and everything, do you think people can truly change, or do they just become a different version of who they already were?
Well, I guess it kinda depends on the circumstance. For the most part, like, for me, I mean, I guess it's more like you can change to an upgraded version of yourself is really what it is. And for me, I separate who I was to who I am now. Like, I'll say the old me or the person who I used to be.
Yeah,
I don't consider that person me anymore because everything in my life is different now.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So I guess it depends how big the change is, I suppose, too.
Um, did your well, I mean, I guess you kind of already answered this, but I'm still gonna ask you anyway. Did you feel like while on your journey you were becoming someone new or more like discovering a different side of yourself?
Well, I finally I guess what it is I finally realized that this is who I was meant to be. So I found my way back to the person I was meant to be in the first place.
Right.
So, after all of that life got in the way and I made a lot of bad decisions. And, I wasn't meant to be over 200 kilos. I wasn't meant to loathe myself. I had a lot of self-loathing going on, and I wasn't meant to give up on myself and my health. I was meant to be a fit and healthy person and live life to the fullest. So,
Get that.
it took a lot of self-awareness to get to that point, but yeah.
That's actually a really sweet way of thinking about it.
Mm.
Um what do you think actually causes the change in people? Does it come from within or from what's happening around them, do you think?
I think both. Sometimes you're just sick and tired of being sick and tired of what you're doing, what's going on, and then sometimes there's also, like, something that's happened, like a catalyst or, a breaking point.
Mm.
So, with me, personally, it was a little bit of both, like, I was sick and tired of where I was, but I had a GP tell me that I had less than 5 years to live, and
Wow.
I was only 38 years old.
Ah,
And yeah, so that was kind of the breaking point for me when I realized, okay, I really need to get something done here. And see, that's what kind of catapulted me into my journey.
wow. That's nice.
Mhm.
Um, do you think well, obviously, regarding your journey, it can last because well, look at you now.
Yeah.
But do you think for, like, the most people, do you think the change can last, or is it something, we have to keep working at?
I guess it depends again how big the change is, but also how much you want to change.
True.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, like I don't want to ever go back to that life again. So I have a lot of motivation, but motivation also dwindles. Motivation isn't always there. It comes and goes. And so you need discipline. You need to, like, do what you have to do to maintain the life that you want or get the life that you want.
Yeah.
And I don't know that everybody has that discipline to do that, so but if you want it badly enough, absolutely, that's what you have to do.
If you don't mind me asking, what is, your motivation to stay in this version of yourself that you are?
The freedom. When honestly, when I was over 200 kilos, well, even when I was over 150 kilos, really, I was shackled by my obesity, like, I just couldn't do anything anymore. I was at the point, especially when I was at my highest, I was at the point where I couldn't, go to my kids' parent-teacher interviews, I couldn't go to their sporting events. I had trouble doing anything, I couldn't go for walks, I couldn't do anything. I live on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, and we have a
Oh,
beautiful lifestyle here, and I couldn't take full advantage of that, and
yeah.
and that was really depressing for me. So, yeah, just things like that.
Mhm. That's I won't lie, having this talk with you has been really, interesting, to say the least. You've given a very, uh, well, I guess I would say, wonderful perspective on people changing.
Yeah, and you have to have a positive mindset too. I think that's a big thing. When I was really heavy, my mindset was very negative, and that's what kept me there. You have to have positivity to keep going. I mean, we have a short life. We're only on this floating rock for so long.
That is true, yeah.
You really got to make the best of your life. You really do. You don't know. I mean, tomorrow you could be hit by a bus, right? So
That's true, yeah. I totally get what you're saying.
we take it for granted. Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do. So, you've written a book, am I correct?
I have, yes. So my book is called Weight Loss Saved My Life. And it goes from the very beginning. I talk about even my childhood and, like, how I was relentlessly bullied, and that's kind of what started me on my path to obesity. And then, obviously, everything I've gone through from my journey. So, as you can probably imagine, coming down from 222 kilos to about 80 kilos, I went through quite a lot. And so that's
Yeah,
all
I
in my
imagine.
book. All the skin removal surgeries I had to go through, all the wardrobes I had to buy. I mean, everything's in there. So yeah, it's been a journey writing this book. It's taken me about 2.5 years. So,
Wow.
yes, I'm a little bit proud of it, but,
I would be.
At the moment, it's only available on my website, which is brendalangford.com. But by the end of May, so in about 5 or 6 weeks from now, it'll be on Amazon and everywhere else as well.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, Brenda, I thank you for your time. It has been truly inspiring and wonderful to hear your perspective on how people can change.
Absolutely. It's never too late.
Agreed. I think what stood out there for me is how personal change actually is. It's not always this big dramatic moment. Sometimes it's slow, uncomfortable, and not even that visible from the outside. And I think that's where it gets complicated. Because from the outside, it's easy to say someone hasn't changed, but internally, they might be completely different. Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe people look different on the surface, but deep down, they're still the same. And I don't know if there's a clear answer to that. I think it depends on the person, the situation, and maybe even what we're willing to believe about them. So can people really change? Or do we just become different versions of who we've always been? I don't think there's one clear answer, but I do think it's something worth thinking about. Especially when it comes to the people in our lives, or even ourselves. If you want to keep the conversation going, make sure to follow the podcast on Instagram and Facebook at TalkAnything Podcast. This has been Talk Anything. Thank you for listening.